If we want to know more about the stories behind the products we buy, one thing we can do is better understand the global supply chains through which they're distributed worldwide. In the case of tea, the journey starts on the plantation and moves through a long and intricate process from leaf to cup. The history of tea is a good starting point for understanding this journey, as colonial influences still shape the industry today. Tea cultivation dates back to ancient China. Over centuries, trade routes carried tea across Central Asia, the Middle East, and beyond, and made it popular in many cultures. European colonial powers transformed tea into a global commodity, with the British playing a key role. In the 1800s, the British aimed to reduce reliance on Chinese imports and expanded tea cultivation in their colonies, particularly in India and Sri Lanka. The British invested in railways and ports to ensure a steady flow of tea to Europe. Meanwhile, afternoon tea emerged as a social custom in Britain. In fact, it became a signifier of social status. Today, the global tea industry continues to reflect its colonial legacy. Larger states still dominate production, paying low wages, while smaller growers struggle to remain viable. International trade rules often favor wealthier nations and large corporations, reinforcing power imbalances. Even regulations meant to ensure fairness can create barriers for smaller producers and favor businesses with the resources to navigate certification and compliance. These imbalances in power and wealth affect every stage of the supply chain, from where tea is grown to how it reaches consumers around the world. Tea typically originates from either large plantations or small family farms in regions such as Sri Lanka, India, and Kenya. Large plantations employ laborers, while on small farms, family members often pluck the leaves themselves. After harvesting, the leaves are processed, usually by machine. The processed tea is then sold at auction centers in countries of origin, where pricing is driven by supply, demand, and quality. From there, exporters, importers, and brokers coordinate its transport to global markets. Branding and packaging often occur closer to end consumers in North America, Europe, and East Asia, allowing companies to adapt products to local preferences. Meanwhile, specialty and premium teas occupy a separate niche. A variety of countries and regions contribute distinct flavors and artisanal practices. Smaller producers, relying on hand plucking and careful processing, sell these premium teas at higher prices, often accompanied by origin stories and tasting notes, similar to how boutique wineries use artisanal practices and storytelling to appeal to connoisseurs. Consumer preferences continue to evolve. Demand for organic, fair trade, and wellness-focused teas is growing, as are matcha, herbal infusions, and others. Despite these innovations, environmental issues like deforestation and carbon footprint of global transport remain pressing. While some sustainability initiatives exist, they often target marketable aspects rather than comprehensive reforms. Tea remains a major global commodity, creating millions of jobs. However, a handful of powerful corporations dominate the industry, perpetuating economic imbalances that disadvantage smaller producers. Certification programs intending to promote sustainability and fairness can be expensive and logistically challenging for small-scale farmers. In fact, certifications often provide only the illusion of ethical progress, functioning as tools for brand image enhancement to appeal to conscious consumers rather than driving systemic change. These programs mainly benefit larger, well-resourced producers who can afford the high costs of certification fees and auditing processes, while restricting the access of smaller farms to premium markets. Although the global tea trade is vast and ever-changing, the realities of plantation workers and small-scale farmers often go unnoticed. Low wages, harsh working conditions, and limited services are widespread. Many workers are seasonal, and women comprise a significant portion of the labor force. Housing is frequently tied to plantations, and marginalized communities are especially vulnerable to exploitation. Unions have secured small gains in wages and safety standards, but legal protections remain weak in many regions, and enforcement is inconsistent. Community-driven initiatives, including cooperatives and direct trade, offer a partial alternative by bypassing conventional structures. Though they represent only a niche segment of the market, these efforts suggest that alternative approaches are possible. Overall, tea is an everyday beverage that reflects centuries of history, diverse cultural practices, and a complex modern economy. But the global tea industry still faces inequalities despite pockets of reform.